Hey everyone, welcome back to my standing. I just saw episode 4 of Wheel of Time and I have a lot of thoughts. So let's get into it, shall we? On the whole, I am quite positive with this episode. I think I actually liked it more than the last one. The highs were higher, even though some lows were lower than the previous episode. So let's, for starters, the lows. I think the opening scene with Logain versus the soldiers was kind of amateur hour when it came to just CGI and how it was shot and framing. It looked very goofy, which is baffling to me because the CGI in the rest of the episode was on the level, especially towards the end. And the opening one with Logain versus like 4 soldiers while recruiting the, I guess, pseudo general for his army was not that great. It was too corny for my taste. Yeah, like I said, by contrast, the CGI of weaving and shielding of him and eventually I guess stilling him was much more expressive and just believable and better done, better incorporated into the environment of the episode. So I wasn't feeling it all that much. Another thing about Logain, which is neither a negative nor positive, it's interesting that this time around in the adaptation, his mental state is much more explicit and on the surface, on the outside, than it was in the books. Because at the very beginning, Logain is not too far gone at all. I don't recall him being that far along with hearing things and being off the deep end, and here he is. So it's neither good nor bad here. I think it serves the plot thread they're going with here, which is I think this is to show that Liandrin has her own rebellious nature against the current Emerald seat, and actually her initiative to still him at the very beginning before a trial in the White Tower is actually correct. So I'm not gonna say it makes her more sympathetic, but it does make her more justified in her behavior and less of a just arrogant idiot as she is in the books. A very dangerous, very arrogant idiot, but still. Another thing as well is, this is a question for more seasoned Wheel of Time readers. Did Logain at any point in the books heal anyone? Because I don't remember, I might be wrong, but it seems to me that this is an addition. And also, quite a lot of channelers can heal in this adaptation. I seem to recall the healing specialization or aptitude for healing with the power was less common than it is in the show. But again, it's neither here nor there, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. So let's move on to another thing that I didn't like. The editing, specifically in the last scene where there is a battle, a fight between the invading supporters of Logain and the forces of Aes Sedai, the warders, etc. The editing and in that particular fight scene was very stuttery, very abrupt, and I couldn't really see the choreography, the fighting choreography, all that well. I mean, it was so stuttery and so jittery that I legitimately couldn't tell if the choreography was good or not. I mean, it might as well could have been, but the cuts were so fast, it was almost like a Bourne movie or something, which I don't think really works for the show. I don't think you need elaborate choreography, especially in larger conflicts. I mean, you can, and they have displayed decent choreography when it's like 1-on-1 or 2 versus 1. For example, choreography while Thom is battling the Shade briefly was well done. The Fade, sorry, not the Shade, was well done. And some other minor fight scenes when it's like a limited number of fighters, they look decent enough. But here, it did not look convincing or pleasant to look at. But move on to things that I enjoyed, and there are quite a bit of them. I think this is the first time, so this is the 4th episode, where we genuinely see Rand showing initiative, taking over the control of the situation, while having a standoff with a farmer. So Rand, Matt, and Thom, who are on the run from, well, Dark Friend and the Fade that was summoned by the Dark Friend, are trying to hide in a barn by a local farmhand. And they are caught by this farmer who is threatening to shoot them with a bow. And Rand is actually the person who disarms the situation. He disarms the tension and shows initiative. And it's the first instance in the show so far that kind of plants seeds of him being a leader, a one who moves things forward. And I appreciated that, because so far he has been pretty passive as a character. And the thing I don't understand in that instance on the farm is I noticed that the show is trying to make a misdirection about Matt. So from what I gather, they're using Matt's sickness, his dagger curse, as a red herring, because they're framing him, insinuating that he is a channeler going mad, and they're doing this through Thom's tale, a backstory of his nephew who was stilled by Red Aja, and subsequently the reason why he is so sympathetic towards Matt and Rand, because they remind him of his nephew who tragically took his own life after being stilled, after showing signs of power, after channeling and having mood swings and changing his behavior. So it's framed to as if to say that Matt is the channeler, not even necessarily Dragon Reborn, but a channeler, and that it is possible that the Reds will come for him. And I just don't know what to think about that. I'm not too sure. I think the jury is still out. We'll see how they resolve, well, first of all, recasting, unfortunately, of his character, and how they handle the past lives change. And also, Rand hasn't showed his powers yet. He haven't displayed them. He only had some visions, which moves on to another point that I liked, which is the transition between his nightmare into the scene with Fate, and for a brief second the horror of, oh, did Matt kill all those people? And this was bafflingly a example of good editing within the show, because the the transition from the nightmare to a living nightmare was competently done. And then we have the editing at the very end with the battle, which was not good. So I don't understand what happened there. But let's move on from that. There are a few small scenes that I generally thought were touching and well done. Scene between Len and Nynaeve. Actually, at this point, I think their chemistry is great, and the actor portraying Len is excellent. So is Nynaeve, of course. But I think that the show so far managed to gradually show their attraction towards each other maybe better than in the books. And to be fair to the books, the scope of the books was gradually increasing. So the kind of pacing of that romance and several others, like say Tom and Moraine, was kind of off. And I think here it's going to be quite believable when they do end up together. Also, again, about the CGI, the scene of Nynaeve going Super Saiyan at the end while healing everyone in the room when Logain almost killed them was well done, in contrast to the very beginning. So I don't know what's the problem there. So that's about it. The scenes with Perrin and Egwene were just, they existed, they were around. I still don't really care either way about the Tinkers, the traveling people. The costumes and the way it's all displayed is kind of from a different show almost. So I mean, we'll see. And that was about it. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters, and thank you to everyone else for subscribing, liking, and so forth. I'm looking forward to another episode, and bye-bye.